The NFL is hard. Like, it's hard.
I agree. The NFL is really hard. Really, really, really hard. But the Texans' offense have managed to make it look harder, and Bobby Slowik has struggled to establish a run game. He was asked about that in his press conference. Hey, Bobby, what's up with the run game?
Very rarely in the NFL, in any aspect, so even if you bring it all the way down to offense, are all things clicking at once. Like, that's an extremely rare thing in the league. So, we had the first game, our run game was clicking. I would say probably our pass game, not so much. We've had a couple games in there where nothing was really clicking. And then we've had some games since where the pass game's been clicking and the run game's had its moments, but by and large has not always been exactly what we want. But, that can change at the snap of a finger. So just continuing to stick with it. I think our guys put on the last game, like, they put some really good clips out there. Specifically in the run game, like the touchdown run we had was probably for Cam, probably one of the easier runs he had of his career. It was really well blocked. The two tight ends did a great job coming back across the formation. The left side of the line, LT and Kenyon, they washed it all down. Juice did a great job. Shaq blocked two. It was as good as you could get. We just got to find a way to continue stacking those.
Look, Joe Mixon is probably going to play versus the Patriots. That solves a lot of problems without solving any problems at all. I think Joe Mixon has an ability to make the line right, or at least look right. Just to paint a picture of just how bad the rushing offense has been, the success rate for running backs from weeks 2 through 5 was 23%. Okay, what's that mean? The league average in that period was 41%. That 23% success rate is one of the 5 worst run games since 2012. It's been bad, and there have been good moments, but they're just too inconsistent. So yeah, it's hard to do a lot of things well all at once, but they're not even competent running the football. And the offensive line is doing good things at times, but all 5 of them are rarely doing something good all at the same time. And I don't want to fall into a trap where Joe Mixon is the panacea for all of this. He is going to make it better, but he's got a tough test versus the Patriots run defense. They do a good job stopping the run. But will Joe Mixon be motivated? Here via Chancellor Johnson is a very motivated Joe Mixon.
How tough was it the past couple of weeks sitting out and not being able to play?
Shit, what you think?
I'm waiting for your perspective, though.
You got out there, I was number 1 in the league in rushing. I want to be out there. You know what I'm saying? Other than, obviously I was stopped because of that weak-ass hip drop tackle. You know what I'm saying? So I can't do nothing about that. I want to be out there more than anybody. You know what I'm saying? So obviously it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I'm going to just keep on working, and when it's time to, be out there, I'm going to do what I got to do to show I'm the best on the field. Simple as that.
Number 1 in the league in rushing. He's dressed like a Jedi. And this is most important, by him asking or him insisting that he wanted to be out there, that's the chip on the shoulder I want. Oh, you thought I didn't want it? No, nobody was accusing him of not wanting to be out there. But sometimes when you're injured, it starts creeping into your head like, oh, do people think I'm tough enough? Yeah, I just so whatever it takes. It's gonna be a welcome boost to have Joe Mixon back. If Dameon Pierce comes back, I hope it's a boost. Some of the offensive line issues that plagued this Texans offense during the preseason that made it hard to really judge Dameon Pierce, and Dameon just didn't look good. Some of those issues they still remain. I 100%, you guys know, I'm annoying about this. I like Bobby's philosophy of tying the run game to the pass game, but they're getting to the point where they run the ball so ineffectively that you're just wasting downs. I thought the biggest example of this was on the 4th and short. Bobby gave an entertaining answer to this question about going for it on 4th and short and whether he liked the play call or not, but ultimately it was one that did not placate me.
Since doing the 4th and 1, I know you're a person who's critical of himself. Do you still like that play, or what may have went wrong?
No, it didn't work. So not like if I was to do that again, I'd call something else. You know what I mean? I liked it going into it. Every time we call a play in the moment, we feel confident that it's going to work. And it doesn't matter what that is. It could be a 4th and 1. It could be a 3rd and 10. It could be 2nd and 15 run call. Like I'm calling it because we're confident that we're going to get what we want out of it. Obviously, we didn't there. We've been pretty good in short yardage this year. I think that was the first time in short yardage we've really been stopped so far this year, but we're aiming for perfection, so find a way.
Okay, there were a couple things I didn't like about this particular play call. Is one, watch these offensive linemen. Everybody's going to wedge in towards those two defensive tackles. The linebackers are off the ball, and you're just going to root those guys out so you can get your 6 inches, right? No! 6 inches is not plenty. The other thing that I really detested about this play was, again, we go back to execution. Watch the exchange here between CJ and Agumbawale. That's not precision right there. I mean, just right there, Agumbawale, he needs to be at full speed. Obviously, CJ and him weren't on the same page, and it's just dead in the water. Now, it was the right play call by textbook standards. There was discombobulation in the defense. The Texans were trying to catch him a little bit off guard. The defense wasn't showing blitz. So by the numbers, yeah, that looked good, except that you don't have the horses to run that race. And I think that's part of learning what your team can and cannot do. But it's a hodgepodge of messiness all over the place in the run game right now. I think it's going to be better with Joe Mixon, but it's got to improve on the offensive line as well. The other big controversy from last week was the intentional grounding that CJ sustained in the second to final drive that knocked them out of field goal position. Here's Bobby explaining that call.
As it pertains to that specific one, like I would look at that similar to the end of the half at Indy. Like I botched that one. There's schematically, you're expecting them to try to knock you out of field goal range. So you're pretty confident most coordinators in the NFL are going to all-out pressure you. So the run game as a starting point, you have to feel confident if you call a run, at the very least you're not losing 3 yards. Because that's, it's risky when they're bringing everybody. Now, there's ways we can definitely make that happen. And then in the pass game, obviously, we got to be able to go execute.
So the defense was in cover 0 there, and either Tank Dell was supposed to come back or Dalton Schultz was supposed to extend his route, but obviously there was a miscommunication there. I'll back Bobby up on this decision just because at that point it was a 56-yard field goal, and I think we're all a little bit spoiled by Kaimi Fairbairn, frankly. It's I don't think you can just chalk up a 56-yarder like it's no big deal, and then especially given the state of your run game, which Bobby had learned about earlier in the game, it's not so simple that at the very least it'll be for 0 yards. There's a good chance they could have knocked that back into it being a 59-yard field goal. And Kaimi Fairbairn can only shoulder so much of a load, damn it. He's a saint and he needs to be protected. So Joe Mixon comes back. Nico Collins going to be gone for at least 4 weeks. Bobby, how do you replace Nico Collins?
Nico is a guy that is really irreplaceable. I think he's been playing probably the best ball of his career. I think right now I'd say for us he was the best receiver in the NFL and what he was doing, and you can't replace that, but at the same time we got a room full of guys that are hungry, that want to go in, they want to get their ops. I think Hutch did a great job in the game after Nico went out. He took advantage of his ops. He showed up in the run game. He works every single day. Obviously you have Metch, you have Woody, you have Sims. I mean, we got a lot of guys that can go out, that can play, and that can function. So we have full confidence that we'll just keep rolling.
That might have been a little bit cruel putting those Nico Collins highlights over that. I apologize, but I wanted to reminisce a little bit. Look, you trade for Steph Diggs for this reason, that Nico Collins and Tank Dell have been injury prone so far in their young careers, and you couldn't expect to have both those guys on the field all the time. We saw that last year against the Ravens. So now you're in a position where you have Tank Dell, you have Stefon Diggs, and then Xavier Hutchinson we saw last week, John Mechie, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the big things I think you miss with Nico is not just his deep strike ability, obviously, but how valuable he is in the scramble drill and just this ESP level connection that Stroud and Nico have to make something out of nothing. So when asked about Stefon Diggs' ability to replace Nico Collins, I'm going to show you some highlights of Stefon Diggs catching the ball while CJ is being targeted or when he's had to extend the play.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the same stuff he's been doing. You know, he's one of the best separators we have. He's really good regardless of leverage he has in man coverage. He's one of the better people I've seen at beating leverage where they don't want to be beat. You know, and then at the top of routes, he's extremely explosive. He's good with the ball in his hands. Probably this year, actually, I think he's been the most efficient ball in the hands receiver we have as far as yards and the yards that are available and what he's getting. So he's just going to continue to grow in the offense as we keep going through the year, and it'll be fun ride.
So that Texans are heavily favored versus the Patriots shouldn't come as a surprise. The Patriots' defense and their ability to stop the run is going to be the really interesting thing concerning Bobby Slowik's play calling with Joe Mixon and potentially Dameon Pierce in the mix. Because we've seen they're able to get their yardage through the air, but without a running game to complement it, they just keep getting stuck in the muck just past the 50-yard line, and drives have stalled out. The penalties have just been a killer. They were fine in the first half of last week, and then in the third quarter, it just jumped up and bit them again. So really, on the offensive side of the ball, depending on how much they call runs on early downs or not, you got to stop burning these downs. You got to stop making it 3rd and long all the time. That's a big test versus the Patriots. And as Bobby Slowik said in a clip that I didn't play here, it's a very well-coached Patriots defense. These guys watch film. They know the issues the Texans have with movement at times, and you're going to see all of that from the Patriots. But I'm just really, really, really hoping that Joe Mixon can be the catalyst, not just for individual performance by the running back, but that by him being in there and by his feedback with the offensive lineman, they can start getting some of the timing, some of the reads, some of the mental stuff right, because there's just a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of tentativeness I see from the offensive line at this point, and when you have that on the offensive line, you get suboptimal play. So that comes back to Bobby Slowik, that comes back to Chris Strausser, the offensive line coach. It would be really, really nice if all those things started clicking. I know Bobby says it's rare, but right now you got a pass game that's clicking and a run game that's clunking. I don't even need it to click. Just stop clunking. So spray some WD-40 on it.